But is it not? Is it necessary? No. No, it's not.
It's especially not because he came for information. He didn't come here
to
invest in devil cakes. Yeah. This guy wants him to, like, fuck a devil cake. And he's like, I just came here to ask you what you know about this pasta.
Yeah, I came here. I have a job, too.
Yeah.
And I don't want your cake.
It has nothing to do with banging it out with some devil cakes.
And go.
Your show. Kid.
All right. Welcome to Comic Dissection, the leftist intersectional comic book club podcast.
Boy, that's a mouthful.
It sure is. So this week we are doing Psychopaths Volumes 3 and 4. And the opening page of Volume 3 is the page to beat. I absolutely fucking love.
That's your panel?
Yes, it is. It's Kogami with his eyes all lit up by a civil system. It's really pretty.
You have to introduce our names.
Oh, I did forget to introduce our names.
This is why I am the superior introduction man. Not really, but
I am Cecilia Rose. And the loud one is Reno.
Dino, Valentino. Yes, that's me. Okay, you may continue. There's not going to be a lot of preamble. We're just jumping right in because if you've been paying attention, we've already done volumes 1 and 2.
Yes, we have.
You know our characters. You know what we think of the arcs and the stories.
To be fair,
we're just moving on from there.
To be fair, I was reading volumes 5 and 6, and it has been a minute in between recording 1 and 2.
Yes.
And I did make a point.
In the way a bit.
And did make a point of being a little irritated that they never give you any more names. So if you don't remember who someone is, you're just done.
I had to take notes at the top of mine, as the name would pop up again. I would quickly jot it down and be like, oh yeah, that's that blonde kid's name. Got it. I'm back with it. And also, a little scene behind the paywall. I've started watching Psychopaths, the actual anime. And
you're all very welcome.
It is not helping me at all because apparently at the end of this, all of these people are going to die because almost none of them seem to be in the show.
Spoilers.
Or they might get transferred to the Siberian division as a callback to our Sailor Venus. They might go to the Siberian division of the Tokyo Police Force. We don't know.
You know?
Yeah, it could happen.
All right, so we open up with Kogami being a little workaholic in Volume 3, sitting at the computer in the office.
Let's open up with sleeping with a book over his face is Grandpa, right?
I think that is Grandpa.
Yeah, old man.
Old man. I love the Masaoka is by hands down one of my favorite characters.
Old man Masaoka.
Pops.
Pops. That's the name I was looking for. Yeah.
All right.
If you want to get people jumping into the excitement of your manga, have it open on an old man with a book on his face.
No, what you have it open with is Kogami pointing a gun at your face. That's even better.
With his pretty eyes.
Oh, he's so pretty. All right, so Kogami's talking to Mr. Waku about the data broker that they went to see that gave them all the information in the last episode.
Yeah.
And he's talking about trying to brand, why were they branding the organs and trying to figure out how to trust the people working under him.
And this is Waka that comes in, correct?
Yeah, it's Mr. Waku.
Yeah.
They're talking about having to go to the special sector to find more information. Now, I did want to bring up a point that bugged me. I don't know if this is something that happened with a lot of everyone's volumes, but my volume 3,
Yes, I also mentioned that. It's,
the printers messed up.
Yeah.
And,
the printing seems to have lost,
we got...
the pages... I've lost a little...
Yeah, we got
couple letters.
Words cut off over here, trying to figure out...
Yeah, Dark Horse Comics. Usually a trusted name in comics. But
and it's only this one volume.
Their Psychopaths manga. Volume 3 specifically, you are correct, because it does not happen in Volume 4, which we're also covering today.
Yeah. it doesn't. It just volume 3. You have words that are just missing, and like it cuts off the sentences, and it's just very frustrating.
Sometimes I remember reading and being like, I kind of got the idea of what they're saying here.
I think this is what the word would be.
Yeah, probably.
So they go to the special sector, which is kind of like an old folks' home.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're getting to the scene that they're walking. Kurata is like, oh man, it's so freaking white here. I was like, yeah, that's what people say at the country club too. It's like, oh, it's so white here.
Yeah, there's no color. It's all
because apparently even colors that are too vibrant might alarm and mess with people's hues. Somebody is actually saying something akin to, I feel like if we at least knew where Shikia's underground farm was, we might start getting somewhere. No, that's what they're still
that's
talking.
what they're doing at the special sector. They're looking for the underground farm that's given all the rice.
We're looking for some farmins, but I want to see the white part because it made me laugh. I thought it was very funny. I hate it. It's too white. It creeps me out. But there are those people who, if everything is not white, they can't relax. Hue purification maniacs. Like, even the spider lilies were white on that wall scroll. But if your hue's gone cloudy and you're still observing over white, that's just being a bad loser. So yes, there are people that believe that only in a world of pale, calming colors can you keep your hue the color it's supposed to be. It kind of reminds me of like feng shui. Kurata recognizes that the water pond is holographic. There's a reoccurring theme in this where nothing is what it seems, and most things are just holographs put to calm people down. Like that fireplace that they put on TV at Christmas time. They're just this fake thing that's just there to keep people from going crazy.
Yes. There is a lot of reliance on artificial means in order to keep people calm, which is interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a real world correlation you could get from that if you were so inclined, if that's what you felt like doing. Maybe. I might be stretching here.
Well, so in that holographic pond, there is the entrance to the underground farm. And
this thing
looks like a
huge missile silo. Yeah, it goes way, 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 way down. And man, it's so easy to hide things in this future because you just just throw a hologram on it. It's perfectly hidden.
Gone, disappeared. You'll never find it again.
Yep.
I'm drawing attention again to
the opening of file number 12.
Pretty Kogami.
It's a Kogami standing scene. If
He's
you like
going
seeing
down
him
the stairs.
standing on a staircase, this
pretty.
is the panel for you.
He's so pretty though. Alright, so they go to the underground farm. They find like a dude hanging out down here.
Yeah. And this guy's very important because, first of all, he's in a safe place because their guns won't work here.
Yep.
Imagine if you needed your gun for protection. So, if you were an American and you couldn't fire it unless you had a good internet signal.
You know what we need to do?
Like your cell phone was like if you only had 2 bars, you could not use your gun.
Yep. You know what we need to do is connect all the guns to Wi-Fi.
To bad Wi-Fi.
To bad Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
I like it.
In school, there's no connection. There's just no Wi-Fi connection, so none of your guns work.
I just love the idea of an underground rice farm also.
It seems like... I know why they have to do it, because they have to keep it secret, because any food not grown by the government is considered... heresy. It's bad. It's real bad.
Well, I did actually look it up because I was kind of wondering why the rice was such a big deal, to be perfectly honest. So I looked it up, and So what's the big deal with the rice and the hyper oats? So in Psychopaths, hyper oats are a hardy and plentiful genetically modified food crop. They were bred to eliminate the need for importing foods because of the civil system's dedication to isolation in this futuristic Japan.
And island nation, you should, yeah.
This modified grain makes up 99% of the food supply in the country. Although it is extremely efficient means of production, it has a few inherent flaws. Due to it being genetically modified, it has little genetic diversity and is invulnerable to any new strains of parasite or insects. Mm-hmm. So I think that if you're growing rice puts hyper oats in jeopardy, is basically...
Also, rice, a huge part of Asian culture. Rice is the staple of every Japanese meal. You have rice with breakfast, rice with lunch, rice with dinner.
Well, they replace that rice with hyper oats.
Yes, and people, I can understand them not being pleased. It's not just, you're not just taking food. You really are taking away, like, a huge part of their culture. Mm-hmm. And honestly, Japan used to be it'd be rice fields as far as the eye can see. And mm-hmm. There was in the prefecture I lived, there were these terraced rice fields. Think of these huge hills, but rice fields in kind of a stair-step fashion.
Yeah.
And people would come from all over the world to get married there. It was like, yeah, these rice fields were considered like a holy place for marriage. A super romantic place. If you wanted your marriage to last forever, you got married at these rice fields. So, rice is not just food. There was a spiritual and cultural component to it. So I imagine in Japan, when everything got turned to these oats, and rice was tossed to the wayside, that a lot of older people especially, but everybody would be like, I can't think of an American equivalent. The whole time I was talking, I was trying to think of an American equivalent, and the only thing I came up with was coffee or French fries. But just imagine if one day they just took that away completely, and they were like,
people would riot if they got rid of the coffee.
People would fucking riot. Their freedom. Imagine losing your freedom fries and your freedom coffee, or your Patriot Silver Bullet coffee, whatever the fucking conservative people call their coffee brands that aren't woke. Imagine losing all that and how people would react.
I would imagine they would react poorly.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, just think about the liberal agenda that we're trying to enact to make everyone eat bugs and how badly that's being taken.
I would have to get over my own complete unacceptance of the concept of eating bugs.
I would be fine with it as long as I didn't know there were bugs. Like, if it's ground up and put in a brownie, believe me, I've eaten a lot of weird shit that was ground up and put in a brownie. I don't think eating bugs would be that much above or below board of some of the other things that I've had that were in brownies. But I don't think I could eat, like, if it just looked like an insect, even if it was covered in caramel or whatever, like, I couldn't eat it like that. But then again, I can't eat a cow like that. Like, I can't take a bite out of the side of a cow. Like,
ew.
When it comes to meat, whether it's fish or insects or cows, it has to not look like that thing anymore. I can't eat a fish that still has the head on it. I can't do it. You have to...
So dino nuggies are just lost on you.
No. Here's what if you take an insect and shape it like a cow, I probably could eat it. Like, that's different. That's a piece of chicken shaped like a dinosaur. Just, I don't want to have eyes to look at me. And
it makes you feel guilty.
And I don't want to have a shape that I can imagine it getting up and walking away. That's all. That's all I'm saying. I'm sorry. On with the show.
All right. So, our underground farmer is Kato, who they've been looking for. Mm-hmm. And Kato's over here quoting Nietzsche, because this comic has one inspiration, and it is Nietzsche.
So much Nietzsche. Oh my God. I would say, and anybody that has done the research can agree with me here because I'm right, 30% of all Japanese RPGs mention Nietzsche at least once, and usually multiple times. They are weirdly obsessed with philosophies.
Psychopaths is the anime. One of the first quotes you get from Nietzsche too. They are very Nietzsche focused. Like, it is a
kind of found a little niche.
They found a niche. A Nietzsche niche.
Indeed.
So we've got our underground farm.
We're waxing philosophy.
And I actually really like the setup for the underground farm. Like, this
beautiful.
is a neat...
It is exactly what you would imagine a futuristic farm looking.
And the dude apologizes or asks how Kazuchi's doing.
You know.
And
it seems like most of the people involved in this, like, making fake organs for people had everyone's best interest at heart. Like, this isn't an evil cabal that's just out here making money.
No.
There are people that saw a problem because some people are allergic to the oats, and we're trying to fix it.
Yes.
And then people that got transplants that made them allergic to the oats, and then they had to try and fix that. And,
it's a thing. It's a common thing in psychopaths that the civil system has inherent flaws in it, and what a lot of the cases in psychopaths are trying to handle the flaws of the system
and solving it by bullying people.
Yeah, well, nothing's perfect.
It doesn't really seem to give you any answers. It's kind of like, here's a system that we've created in this dystopian future, and here's people who have recognized the problem and are trying to solve it, but in ways that the system does not like. We blow those people up. The end.
I mean, it's just the American justice system.
The Japanese justice system as well, apparently.
So they walk under. Kato leads them underground, and they're in an underground water purification facility.
Rice takes a lot of water.
It does.
I mean,
it does take a lot of water.
You've got to have.
Well, and they have fish in there too. Like they were very. It was a very intelligently designed.
Well, you're trying to make a system that's self-regulating. Like the fish will poop, and the poop will become food for the plants, and the plants will grow, and they've got the artificial lights, like, because they've already, and it talks about it earlier or late, I don't remember when it talks about it, but it talks about how they had to hide the amount of power that this thing was using. You don't want to also hide smuggling in fertilizer.
Yeah.
So if you have fish taking care of that helps you keep your secret longer.
Yes, because it's less you got to try to account for it.
Exactly.
So Kato tells them that they needed a huge volume of water to raise the crops, and it helps keep it a secret, the way they got the fish and the water and everything. As for the second objective, it was to perform human trials of artificial organs on the supposition that people might not be compatible with their new foods. So basically, they were trying to make the organs to fit the foods as opposed to eating food that people could already consume and derive nutrients from.
Yeah.
For being someone who knows nothing but this world of Sybil, promised by Sybil, you probably wouldn't understand the wretchedness of having no choice at all. Poor Kogami. I do think it's a really interesting juxtaposition, the way that, like, Kogami has grown up in this system and believes in this system, as opposed to the people who grew up without it and do not have the same faith in it.
Well, if the system has helped you, lifted you up, provided for you, you are going to view it differently than if it's abandoned you or decided at a very young age that you were going to be a problem and decided to enslave you into this weird cop movement from like age 5.
Well, that's just one of the options. In all honesty, latent criminals, I don't really know if they, like, there are probably other careers that they could go into. I don't think
I'm not sure there are, because, like, they're threats. You have to keep them as dogs on chains, as they say repeatedly.
I mean, and they're probably not free. I'm not saying they're free.
No.
But they might be able to be artists or something. I'm not exactly sure how that works.
Yeah, it's something I said in Volume 1 and 2 that remains true. They seemingly overcomplicate sometimes, where a simpler storyline could have got you the message you wanted and where you wanted to go.
So, if I understand it right, the government commissioned the organs, and the businesses wanted to keep using them to have built-in consumers.
Yes.
So,
I believe that is correct.
Capitalism is still evil. This is true in this future as well. Something we have in common. But the hyper-oats were perfected, so the organs were dropped, except for the people who already had them. The old man came because he needed organs, and the kids were illegal. is what I understand to have happened here.
The kids who already had organs were considered illegal because they'd gotten them on the black market?
I think so, yes.
Okay, yeah.
So the artificial organs, that's basically what Kato tells them while they're down here. The hyperos were perfected along with Professor Kamada's Uka no Midama virus.
Midama virus.
Them. Yeah. So the people who had already received those organs were, unfortunately, there's not like they had them. There's nothing you can do about it now.
Yeah.
Along with the number, so he takes them into this weird underground bunker, and he has this a big giant jar of just organs with numbers on.
Yeah, very mad scientist. But imagine if the mad scientist who's giving you the tour looks like a plantation Southern gentleman. Or the guy that ran Jurassic Park in the first movie.
It does look like the guy who ran Jurassic Park.
The old guy from Jurassic Park. But as an scientist with organs floating in jars, a la Dr. Frankenstein.
You're not wrong, but that is not a thing I needed. No. So, Karada goes to run the numbers, and they're still offline underground. I don't know why he thought they wouldn't be.
Well, it's that thing where you have no signal, and you're like, I don't know, you're in the woods camping or something. You walk 5 feet and hope that fixes it. Nope, still no signal. Walk another 5 feet. No, it's still no signal. He's just looking for a stray signal. Which is silly, because these old men are bazillionaires. I'm sure they did their work to make sure that no signal gets down here.
Well, the special sector is supposed to be offline anyways.
Yeah.
So Sybil, part of the problem with the way Sybil works is there are large pockets of society that if their hues are wrong, you'd have to get rid of all of those people. Mm-hmm. And Sybil can't handle that load of people like that.
So they just disconnect them from the network and leave them?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what the abolition blocks are.
I was a little curious what I thought it was just poor people. I didn't realize it was also people who were bad-hued.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it creates this weird underground thing where you have your underground homeless people or whatever.
Well, right. Yeah, because they also have to have food and shelter and things. Entertainment, all that stuff.
So later, Shiki comes to Kato about his children, and he immediately understood the cursed organs were the ones he had transplanted. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine they would be making repeated use of those same organs. So those kids had those organs put in them, and Shiki came to Kato about removing them. And we find out Kato has a cyborg body with these fun little weird finger things.
Yeah. Yeah, he's mostly cybernetic now. Mm-hmm. The hospital owner has almost completely robotized himself.
Yep. So he tells Kogami he wants all of it exposed, and he gives Kogami a key.
Okay. This is one of those makes me furious parts. So, Kato is like, you're the guy, Kogami. You're the guy that can break this case wide open. You're the guy that can expose it all. Hands him a key. Doesn't tell him what it's for.
Nope.
Doesn't tell him what to do with it.
Nope.
If you want this exposed, old man, maybe just tell me the information I need. Or at the very least, tell me where this key goes. Don't give I don't want to play 20 questions with you. You want this exposed. I'm obviously fine with exposing it. So, and maybe it's just a step on a journey he has to take to see for himself. And if he just told him the key goes to a lockbox that's got all the files in it, he might not believe it. I don't know. But I was very frustrated. I'm like, Kato, I don't believe you want to expose this.
You could help more.
I wouldn't believe you want to play riddle games.
Oh, I thought you liked riddle games. Your favorite villain.
I like them when you're honest about them. He doesn't have a question mark tie. He's acting like he wants to be helpful. He don't want to be helpful.
So, Mr. Waku tells Kogami that Kato is out of their hands now. He got taken up by the big wigs.
Yeah.
And then we go to
Man.
Kogami dealing with that poorly.
Now he's got... Also, we got our 2 girls have gone undercover with their...
Giant robots.
God, I don't know what it is about Japan loving large-headed mascots. From Doraemon to Anpan Man, like, these mascots with these huge-ass heads. They love it. They just love it. I don't know why.
They do. They really do.
Big fans.
I, on the other hand, really love watching Kogami fight. And that is the thing that happens on the next couple pages.
Who's he fighting with?
Well, he seems to be fighting with a robot.
Wait, is it,
It starts with the robot.
Oh, but
and then
Sasayama.
Sasayama.
Sasayama shows up, and he's like, hey, you want to spar with me?
Yep.
And of course he does. Can you imagine a manga where someone walks up and says, hey, do you want to fight me? And the other guy says no. And then they just like, oh, okay, maybe next time. And then, no. And then no challenge to a fight will ever be turned down in a manga.
Nope.
Because manga has mastered the art of motion in comics, and they have to show that off every chance they get.
And, Kogami also looks really hot when he fights.
So these guys start swinging on each other.
They do, and while they're swinging, Kogami's talking about...
yeah, it's not just an action fight. They are exchanging information.
Kogami's talking about whether or not the stuff in the clear pasta is something other than hyper oats.
Now, if you recall, the clear pasta was seized in Volume 1.
Mm-hmm. It's been a very popular product, too.
And one of the mysteries they're trying to unravel is why it's gotten so popular. It is so popular, in fact, that there have been riots over it. People have been dying over it. People's hues, God forbid, have been changing color over it. So... it's tied into the rice, the grain, like, all of these things seem to be connected, but they can't figure out what the uniting aspect is yet.
Well, I think Kogami's kind of piecing it together.
Well, yeah, they're working on it. They're getting closer.
So...
pasta.
Sasayama's saying that it's a great big world out there. And tells him to believe in himself.
While beating his ass.
He
ends up with him, like, with Kogami's arm behind his back in a definite, like, tap out or, tap or I snap it kind of situation. And then he's kind of like, it's the equivalent of patting him on the head and saying, yeah, you'll go far, kid. You're doing great.
I honestly think it's really telling because Sasayama plays an important part in the anime. But it's really telling that, like, Kogami doesn't lose physical altercations very often. Mm-hmm. And the fact that Sasayama...
because all his friends are badasses who train him, I guess.
I was going to say, it's telling that Sasayama can actually beat him.
Yeah. And Kogami, we see him training a lot. Like,
yes.
He's obviously...
he's dedicated.
He takes his physical abilities very seriously.
I think part of that is, though, that Kogami has kind of an obsessive personality. Mm-hmm. And he's going to, like... working out can also be an obsession. I think that it's something that those things feed.
When your friends are like that, too, you kind of... I mean, obviously, Kogami sees these are as chances to compete. And so, yeah, it's like, brothers or sisters, or brothers and sisters. Siblings. Mm-hmm. That's the easy word for it.
There you go.
Just wrestling all the time and stuff. Kogami's kind of formed these sibling relationships with lots of people.
Well, he's smart, and he is trusting to a certain extent, and he wants to have, like, a good working environment.
Well, he's very charismatic. Like, most people there like him. Mm-hmm. And, like I said...
baby chick Kogami.
Yeah, baby chick Kogami.
So, Sasayama says that it's important to have someone who can watch your back, but be able to pull the trigger yourself when you need to.
Yes, once again, you have to be reminded that your coworkers, you need to kill them at any time. Never forget that you may have to murder the people you work with. It is a weird message for them to constantly hammer home. I mean, I understand the environment and why they say it and how these people are basically psychotic criminals who are barely kept under control and how they have to constantly be watched because they aren't trusted. But man, they just hammer this message home.
They are very on this whole concept.
Yeah, absolutely. Then we get another scene with Cyclops. My boy, unshaven Cyclops.
Well, I was going to make a point I also really love that this is always how Kogami handles his problems when he's overwhelmed. Bad thought, destroy a robot.
A lot of people, I think, go and, like, exercise when they want to clear their heads. Not
I
me,
just
God
eat.
forbid. Yeah, I do that too. I play video games that I've played a million times, so I don't have to think my way through them.
I just eat. I eat
yeah.
a whole lot of cake when I'm
Eating's
sad.
good too. Cake's great.
So we meet our unshaven Cyclops, who has an actual name, but I
Mr.
can't remember.
Maru.
There you go. See, someone's paying attention.
Yeah.
So he has more information for Waku, and someone named Professor Togane is the person where all these trails seem to lead back to.
Yeah.
And his information has been erased. So
Suspicious.
no, there's nothing wrong with
His information seems to have been erased. It's fine though.
It's nothing to see here.
That's not a real concern. Call me back when you got a real problem. Less information means less worry.
So they're talking about Professor Togane, and if there's any possibility he's still alive in the special sector, or if he has any other close relatives that they can get a hold of.
And Cyclops, funny you mentioned that.
About the relatives, he has 2 relatives. One of them's dead. They died November 15th, 2093.
And Waku, you'll find the other one in your local mirror.
Yeah.
Because it's you, son!
And the other one is you.
Yeah. That was the end of, that was our cliffhanger for issue 13.
Yeah, I did think, so Waku's adopted, and he was related to the guy they can't find any more information about. I wrote down, I wonder if he's also in one of those, illegal kids or whatever, that they don't have any charts for.
Yeah, suspicions are high. Even Cyclops, Mr. Maru, is kind of looking at you can't see he's looking at him side-eyed because he's wearing the Cyclops goggles. But
actually, this makes me think of the dude from Star Trek.
Oh, LaForge.
Yeah.
The Reading Rainbow.
Rainbow guy.
Yeah, LeVar Burton. Thank
Love
God.
him.
I would have lost a lot of credibility if that name had never came to me.
Yeah.
Dangerous. But yeah, Mr. Maru and Waku kind of have a tense exchange here about... Mr. Maru's like, did you know this? Because it seems awfully suspicious.
Yeah.
And Waku's like, I didn't, but if you want to fight about it... But he ends up trusting him, which I like. Again, these people need more trust. They're all very paranoid. Only Kogami seems trusting. You guys should work on your trust levels.
Yeah, he says the only son of Taishi Waku, a prominent figure in the businesses affiliated with the Togane group. Being an heir, you had a strict upbringing since childhood. Yeah, he basically just reads and writes. He's like, I know about you.
Yeah, Maru's information. That's his entire gimmick. He's the dude surrounded by 30 computer monitors and 15 keyboards that's constantly doing research for the group.
And the first, he reads Waku straight, everything from where he grew up and all this stuff. And he says, you have a particularly good reputation for low death rates of enforcers directly under you. And he's like, Waku, don't hide anything from me.
Yeah.
Fucking love.
Yeah.
I love him.
Maru is great.
Maru's
he's one of my
amazing.
favorite characters. Probably Kurata's my favorite. Because he's a little blonde weirdo. But Maru's probably my second favorite. But I really like Waku, too.
Kogami is obviously my favorite.
Yeah.
Surprise.
We are dropping bombshells on this episode. Stuff you guys did not know about Cecilia. Kogami.
But Hyena is probably my second favorite. I love her so much.
She's such a weird little lady.
I love her.
So
it's
weird.
the oddballs. I do have a distinct favoritism for the oddballs.
Me for the creepy smart guys, which is Mr. Maru and Waku. Those are our creepy smart guys.
So, Mr.
And men in glasses, apparently.
Hey.
Whether they're
men in glasses.
Whether they're Cyclops goggles or just nerd glasses.
So, Mr. Waku counters with, you and Mr. Masaoka were the first ones I told when I got married. So there is some level of, Waku does trust in, his coworkers and, life being what it is under the civil system, I don't really know how much more you can ask for.
I suppose, yeah. It does fall well into the better than nothing.
So, yeah, the person who died, I only met him once. And it's because Waku's the one who verified the body. To be precise, I was providing a sample for a DNA test, but they hadn't told me that I was his brother. It was then that I learned that I've been adopted. So,
what a great way to learn that you're adopted is when you go to identify a body at a morgue.
Yeah.
They're like,
and
hey.
Mr. Waku can't even ask his parents about it because they're dead. Like, so he trusts Amari to figure out anything that he can on it, which is actually, again, all things considered, I think Mr. Waku is actually a pretty decent dude.
Yeah.
So we cut over to Kogami and Haina, and Haina is in a very, very bad mood now because she lost her box of clear pasta.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. It is a pasta-related problem. They accuse her of being addicted to it at this juncture as well.
Yeah.
Because they are really floating theories that there's something in the pasta that makes it more than just delicious. That makes it tobacco addictive.
I love this line because Kogami's like, sorry, I couldn't get you another one. And Amari's like, if sorry was good enough, the world wouldn't need cops. She's so pissed about losing her box.
Really upset over this pasta debacle.
And
that's what we shall call it, the pasta debacle.
So, but Kogami promises to replace it, and Haina just pulls up illegal websites like she's just going shopping on Amazon.
Like, just so you know, it's easy to get. Illegally.
I love Kogami wouldn't let her have her box back, but now, or the boxes that had all the dead bodies beside them, now they're on sale on the black market.
Yeah,
like,
which is yet another problem because they're like, wait, how did they get out of police storage and now they're on the black market?
You know?
This group is leaking like a sieve. No wonder nobody trusts each other. Security, not tight.
Well, I don't know who collects the stuff, but I don't think people who collect the stuff are the same people who.
Well, it's all under the same umbrella.
That's true.
Like, I'm sure it's in an evidence well, it should have been in an evidence, well, not locker, an evidence warehouse somewhere.
You would think.
Yeah. But it
ain't. Haina comes up with, they're talking about the pasta being gone, and Haina's like, I might have been getting fat.
The worries are real.
But without any so they're talking about the calories in the pasta, and we meet up with another dude. What's his name?
And a dudette.
Oh, Yachty.
Yeah.
And then the inspector is Tezuka.
Yeah, Tezuka, her weird sidekick.
No one likes Yatsuka.
No.
No one enjoys his company.
He's weird, kind of creepy.
Yeah, I think he's hitting on
everyone that moves.
Yeah, if you are breathing,
which,
you are his
speaking of
type.
things that you apparently cannot make a manga without, you have to have creepy hits on every one person, because how do you make a manga without him?
Tezuka tells him to calm down, and I think she kind of puts him in timeout.
Good advice.
So,
bro,
we have a case.
We have a case, bro. Bro, we have a case.
Alright, so they find out that it is rice in the clear pasta.
Alright, anyway, Kogami's thinking about that key. Yep. That key that old man gave him, that of course he has no idea fucking.
And he didn't tell anyone about.
Yeah.
I just want to also draw attention to that. So for all of my talk about Kogami trusting people, he's still also
keeping his secrets.
Keeps his secrets.
Yeah.
So they decide to look into the rice that Kato was growing, and I did write down here that I think it's really funny that I know that Sybil's bad and whatever. Like, I don't trust Sybil.
Right.
But it would be nice if our government cared about what went into our food as much as Sybil cares about what's going into their food.
Yeah.
So
well, they care, but it's almost like a competing industry. Like the tobacco industry cares about people dying from drunk driving because they want them to die from lung cancer. So it's not really like
it's not that they want people to be healthy.
Yeah, it's like they want you to buy the food that we put our chemicals in, not the food that they're putting their chemicals in.
Yeah, we want you to buy American cars.
That's
that way the CO2 pollution is American
made.
Yeah. like those posters.
How embarrassing
that were like,
would it be if we all died from Japanese car
clean
pollution?
air is for communists.
It is from communists.
Yeah. So, but yeah, they're talking about how the rice and the pasta basically makes all the people who have consumed this pasta hostages to the people who have made it, which is an interesting take.
It's very much the drug dealer thing. Like,
so
first box free.
I did write down, I think Mr. Waku handles having a random family like, pretty well. Like, he takes it in pretty good stride that he was
Well, it sort of sounds
related to a
he had an inkling
criminal.
from when he had to go identify that body. Like, he found out then, right?
Well, he found out then that he was adopted. He didn't know who.
So you have to assume that you were adopted from a family somewhere.
Well, yeah,
so
but he didn't know it was in a family involved in this criminal enterprise.
Well, I would be more mad to find out they were rich. I'd be like, ugh, I didn't get none of that.
Well, I think his family was pretty well off too, though.
Oh, well, that's good then. I don't know
because he was friends
history.
with his parents were friends with the Toganes.
Okay.
So I do think they were all pretty. They ran in the same kind of circles.
They're not going to be friends with Tories.
No,
as we call them.
Can you
as
imagine?
Me and my fellow rich people call you.
Yeah, can you imagine people from the country club being friends with?
Only in like
the people who carry
romantic
their golf clubs?
Comedies, not in like real life.
Definitely not in the crime.
No, not in this far-flung dystopian Japanese future. No.
If Takakuni Tokaneg, his like the two names that he switches in between are similar enough to be frustrating, but not the same. But at any rate, if he's his genetic father, Waku can go visit him as a first-degree relative.
Yeah. So Waku immediately starts using this newfound family as
I'm gonna
travel.
Yeah,
pass.
I'm gonna.
Yeah.
This problem we're having getting in the special sector
just became solved.
It just became solved. And so now we're on file number 16.
Gotcha. Now I'm caught up. We're coming to my favorite panel. I'll let you know when we get there.
All right. So Kogami is meeting in a VR room. Oh, this dude.
Everyone gets. When you meet in a VR room, you get to pick your little avatar, which is super fun. That would be, as much as we talk about the future of virtual reality, like, it would be cool to have your own little VR.
This dude, this sales dude, does the most, and I hate, he's so creepy. He makes my skin crawl.
Yeah, he is,
he's
my favorite panel. He's coming up.
He's a sales representative. He's a sales representative for the Togane Group.
Yes.
And right now, the Togane Group division, we're heavily promoting devil cakes.
There's a picture of him at a table, and he's like, it's kind of this Alice in Wonderland style, dining room. This is before probably a lot of these listeners' time, but there's a Tom Petty music video called Don't Come Around Here No More. It's Alice in Wonderland themed. I'm going to show it to Cecilia after we finish. But that is the room that he's in. And there's a scene of him, like, holding the cake up to, like, the camera, basically. And that is my favorite panel, because he's got this ridiculous smile on his face, and then his little devil cake has a little devil decoration on it that is smiling in the exact same way.
It is. It's the same face.
And he is just the perfect salesman. Like, this is the sales pitch where he's trying to get people to buy these devil cakes.
Yeah.
With a cute little fiend on top.
Yep.
I would buy the hell out of devil cakes.
Once you eat one, you'll have a bewitching little devil face too. And it's got this weird, this is a this panel is just fucking creepy.
But you gotta imagine, if you could control your facial expressions, which I hear some people can, but like in a VR world, you could just do it. And so you could change your face to like the clown makeup, or like you could all of a sudden like make your eyes big and manga style, or like really like small and angry, like you're real pissed off at somebody. Man, people would play with that. Like, this guy is playing with that, and Kogami is not
impressed. And
also his VR looks exactly like him. Like, he did nothing, right? Like, it's just him.
Yeah. Kogami, I am Kogami, though, in this panel. Because this dude is just, like, being loud and over the top. Yeah. And he is doing his job. He's being a sales rep. Yeah. But is it necessary? No. No, it's not.
It's especially not, because he came for information. He didn't come here to invest in devil cakes. Yeah. This guy wants him to, like, fuck a devil cake, and he's like, I just came here to ask you what you know about this pasta.
Yeah, I came here. I have a job too.
Yeah.
And I don't want your cake.
It has nothing to do with banging it out with some devil cakes.
So Tori hops in and says they couldn't find any evidence of irregularities in the shipments.
Yes, the two ladies have popped in as little kitty mascots, because apparently they don't just dress up like this for missions. They also just do it any opportunity they get.
I think maybe it's just something with Kogami where he doesn't, because he doesn't in the anime either. Yeah. And in the anime, he is an enforcer. Like, he's fallen already. Yeah. So, like, it's not, I think it's just something with Kogami's personality that he just doesn't, he is not interested in any of this online frivolity shit.
Yeah.
Like, because Kane does. Yeah. And she's an inspector.
Yeah, but she has a
cute little tiny cutesy avatar thingy that she has.
She changes her bedroom to look different ways.
Yeah, Kogami is just super uninterested in any of the...
But Hina and, what's the black-haired girl's name?
Tori,
show up in their little baby avatar forms. So they're, like, leaning on his shoulder and standing on his head. But the thing is, Kogami's the only one that can see them. Yeah. Because they're giving him information that they don't want Devil Cake Man to know. And so he has to pretend he doesn't notice them, ask the questions that they're prompting him to ask, but not address them at all. Like, imagine how distracting that would be. You're trying to, I'm trying to talk to you, but you don't know that I've also got, like, these people on my shoulders, like, yapping into my ears. Like, ask Cecilia about this. Blah, 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 blah.
As someone with ADHD who's easily distracted, I can actually relate to this.
I get it in that respect. Because, same. But it's a totally different level. If it's literally
that one
people...
point he made 5 minutes ago, I've got a whole tangent prepared the moment he shuts his mouth. Yeah.
I hope he doesn't end with a question. That will completely derail me.
Yep. So he gets around to actually talking about clear food, which is the clear pastas. The
pasta makers, yeah. And basically, he does not give up any useful information. He's like, well, they're a subsidiary of a subsidiary of a subsidiary.
We bought this company.
Whose warehouses we use through a subsidiary. Yeah, he's very tight-lipped, unless you want to talk about devil cakes.
Yeah, because he's also good at his job, apparently. And part of that is
just stonewalling.
Just being distracting.
Yeah, the thin devil cake line, he's holding it.
Eni has produced all of the latest hit food products, from quality assurance of food cartridges to decisions on flavors, package design, and production of Halo commercials. This one man does it all. So you're saying that it's natural that the address is a factory? Yes!
Gladly. I will gladly say that.
So yeah, they're making, like, pasta. They've even been making candies with kids. For kids. And I think most of that probably has rice in it. And now, in the end, we're no more than an agency service. So I have no knowledge of the business beyond what we're commissioned. If you're investigating a matter of illegal activity, he can't help you.
There's really this scene of, there's a scene in Office Space where they're like, so what do you do here? Like, this company just connects companies to other companies.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we're not responsible for anything. We just make sure that these different moving parts get in contact with each other, and then we skim off the top. Like, that's our job.
So, while the sales guy is giving his spiel of useless information, Hina's like, he changed his surname. He used to be El Komoki. After his parents divorced, he changed it to El Eni. It seems that he's a former unregistered child, too. He was adopted from Shiki's son's institution.
So we got a lot of adoption things going on here.
Yeah, I guess that's what happens when you have illegal kids running around.
Yes, they often end up in the orphanages.
So,
great
Kogami,
place for organ harvesting, though, if you're interested. Orphanages.
That's disturbing. Don't wink at me like that.
For the record, I can't wink, so that is definitely a lie. I blink both eyes when I try and wink.
So, Kogami is responding to Hina telling him about this, but the sales guy's like, I'm not the person. Like, the sales guy interprets it as him being...
It's like, your princess is in another castle. Yeah. Like, we can't help you.
So... he hands him a cupcake with a key on top, because people just keep popping in to hand Kogami keys.
Kogami is a key collector. Think Sora from Kingdom Hearts. He's just getting keys all over the place. Keyblades.
And Hyena eats it, which is adorable.
And also, which translates to is
Her
going
opening
to
the
look,
files, yeah.
Because it was on top of a devil cake. How could you not?
I mean, to be fair.
Yeah.
Now he knows where Eni is in
time for another road trip.
Shinagawa Ward.
Shinagawa.
There we go.
Real ward, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
Man, that was hard to say, but yes.
So they turned off the alarms. They decide that they're going to go into this ward and find Eni out.
Which is a farm and a warehouse. A farm and a warehouse, not a farm in a warehouse. Which I have to make sure we are clear on because we already found a rice farm and a missile silo. So
this is true. They're just sticking things in all kinds of places.
Where can't... I mean, when you're in Japan, you don't have a lot of farmable land. It's all mountains and coasts, so you gotta stick a farm anywhere you can.
So they get attacked by water cutters.
Which are cool. They're just water sharpened as bullets, basically.
Yeah, it's...
Imagine a water sprinkler if every little squirt of water was a bullet.
It's intense. It cuts off part of Haina's hair.
Yeah, it's fun stuff.
Alright, so they shut the water off. They destroy the sprinklers. And they go inside the
warehouse part.
warehouse.
Yeah.
They're trying to find Eni. So, and they're talking about, I think they're talking about the rice. And Hines asks for more clear pasta.
I mean, you're at the place it's made. Don't act like this is... You're at the place it's made, and there's probably not dead bodies next to it, so...
I just love her. Like, they just got shot at. She she almost died 2 seconds ago.
She's earned some pasta.
She wants that... If you're going to kill me anyways, can I have dinner first? Like, she's got her priorities. She does. And Eni asks if it helped clear Hugh any. And Hannah's like, well, it was already cloudy, so I don't know. But it tasted really good, so can I get some more?
Yeah, because another thing about this pasta is they keep giving all these health benefits that it's supposed to have. It's supposed to clear your hue. It's supposed to, like, help with blood pressure. Like, it's got all these other things it's supposed to do in addition to being delicious. So they were asking, like, oh, did that fix your hue? Kind of sarcastically, because I'm pretty sure everyone that's in this program has no hope of ever getting their hue clear enough to, like, get out of the program. Or they wouldn't be in the program.
And Kogami tells him, like, he's trying to cause a psychohazard. Like, he's trying to mess everyone up. It's true that no human casualties resulted from clear pasta. But the general population believes they've been eating something... If the population realizes they've been eating something other than hyper oats, it could cause everyone's hue to cloud.
Yep.
And Eni's like, well, then the government should acknowledge that it's fine if they eat it. Because...
That seems like a solution.
It does. But basically, Eni couldn't eat hyper oats, and he's treated badly because he can't eat the thing that everyone eats.
Yeah. And they don't seem to provide any alternative.
No.
Like, if you can't eat hyper oats, well,
dead.
Fuck you. You can go live in the outer limits, and good luck.
Kogami's like, well, hyper oats saved the country, basically. It saved people from starvation.
Yeah.
And Eni's like, and in exchange, Sybil stole the freedom to eat freely from all of us. Like,
yeah, it's the whole, freedom versus security. They're always going to be in a certain amount of conflict. Mm-hmm. And you have to decide how much of one you're willing to give up for the other.
So, Eni points out that people used to eat rice and that there's a lack of choice.
Yeah.
What is this? Masaoka says, I don't agree with you, but even if I did, your methods are bad. If the main ingredient is revealed to be something completely different than what's advertised, people aren't going to trust what they're eating.
Yeah.
And basically, they just go back and forth.
Well, it's kind of, you've lied, and now you have no way to tell the truth without people not trusting you anymore. Mm-hmm. But that's 100% because you lied. Like, you set this trap up, and now you're in it, you being the government in this case. And so now they can't reveal the truth because, well, fuck it. Like, we've already lied to everyone. And then they won't trust us when we need to lie to them again.
There isn't enough... So... Eni asks There have been, so Heine points out that there have been a lot of people fighting over the clear pasta, and that's actually been more of a problem than anything else. And Heine's like, there isn't enough of it, so people are fighting over it. In a certain sense, scarcity of any popular product is a sin. So please make lots more of it. So Eney points out that he shouldn't have let the people harvesting the organs use the warehouse.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're eating. You say you're giving them a choice, but they never gave their consent.
Yeah.
Which is an important thing that Kogami points out, and I actually do.
Accurate, yeah.
Yes, you shouldn't fucking put things in people's food.
Yeah, and they're having a conversation with the guy who's overseeing the factory, and they notice that his coefficient is climbing. He's getting more criminal by the second. And I kind of wrote that it sort of seems like they're doing entrapment and just setting someone up and getting them riled up enough that they can shoot them, because they are saying things to agitate him and get him more upset, seemingly so that they can shoot him.
Well, there is an interesting notion in this that Sybil relies on your own conscience to cloud yourself.
Okay.
It seems because it seems like, and I actually make this point in one of the later books too, it seems like how much you believe in the system and how much you believe in your own guilt affect your cue. Because two different people can do the same action, and for one person it can turn them cloudy and like change their color and cause all these problems for their lives, and for another person it doesn't seem to have that effect.
Yeah.
So it's not the thing you're doing that matters. It's the way you feel about the thing that you're doing.
Wild.
Almost. Because Eney felt fine 2 minutes ago about like tricking people into eating rice. But the more he talks to Amari and Kogami, the worse he feels, and the more his crime coefficient goes up.
So he turns on some more water lasers.
Well, first, I really think this is a good line. It says, how
think?
strange. Forcing no choice on people is a crime, but offering them one is. Like, it isn't. I mean, I don't think Eney was wrong necessarily, but I do agree that you can't just, like, trick people into eating stuff.
Yeah.
So, they figure out where Eney is, because part of what they were doing is trying to find him and then trying to get his crime coefficient high enough.
Yeah, he's talking to him over an intercom, so they're trying to locate him at first as well.
And Heine realizes that the fish respond to stimulants in the panels, so she starts following Eney because he's trying to eat a whole bunch of meds to get his hue back down, get his stuff
Poor
clear.
guy. It is not working.
Eney's like, my hue's always been normal. How could I have gone cloudy? Is it because I ate hyper oats? I'm sure I didn't do anything wrong. And when I got my real organ, I was so happy. How is it possible I was clearer when I couldn't eat them, like I couldn't in the old days? So he's up to a 320, and he's running around dropping pills every which way. And Heine follows it to find out where he is, and then they explode him before they get shot by.
Mission accomplished in volume 3.
Yeah. So we've gotten to where the clear pasta came from, and it came from Eney and rice.
Yeah.
That is what we have discovered.
And a quote from File 17 that I missed where it came up, but it said, "Hurry too fast down the wrong path, and you'll accomplish nothing." And I just thought that was a good quote. I don't remember who said it or where, but I just wrote down the quote, and I liked it.
It is a good quote. I like it. So, we're on file number 18 now. Book number 4.
Book 4, file 18.
Heine and them get back to the department.
Yeah.
And
Wait, let me look at the first page here, make sure we didn't miss something. No, we didn't. Okay.
well, they just have a meeting.
Yeah.
That's basically...
Well, yeah, I'm looking for... there's going to be a flow chart here in a minute.
Well, before we get to the flowchart, Kogami runs into Gino in the office, or in the locker room. That's the word, locker room. He's talking about Sasayama and Yatsuka ignoring his orders. So they're providing rear support now.
Yeah, they got demoted.
Yeah. And they're talking about the case, and I'm really happy. Kogami gives us like a nice little summary at the start of Volume 4.
Yes.
The artificial organs that were causing a problem were in the kidneys. They had branding numbers in them. The process of investigation, the branding incident in Division 3, we learned about the corpses of the patients being stolen. At first, we thought it was a criminal act committed in order to hide the existence of the branded organs, but the objective was other internal organs. So that was a fork in the road. The criminal was Kazuchi Kurari, who was an employee at the hospital that reported the first incident. The method of murder was the stopping of the organ's functions via a genetic timer, though I don't know if that could be proved in murder in a court of law. Kurei used Yugi, who worked for the funeral company, to obtain corpses. The corpses, of course, it's murder. He may as well have implanted poison in them. It's more, and what's more, you say he was taking, like, Gaino's basically asking questions about...
Yeah. The case.
Yeah. And to be completely sidetracking here, we could have used more butt cheek here. I wanted more butt.
I'm quite okay with the amount of butt we had.
Well, yeah, because in the middle of their talking, Kogami's changing his clothes from his wet clothes to dry clothes.
Seemed needlessly gratuitous to me, to be perfectly honest.
I disagree completely. You are wrong.
Wow. Not just agree to disagree. I am in the wrong.
You are incorrect.
Fair enough.
There's
duly noted.
And there's a scene in one of the later animes for Psychopaths where Kogami is in the bathtub. You don't get to see everything there either, but a lot of fan art has been drawn. Anyways, so Gaino...
Thanks, Internet.
You never let me down.
Yep.
The artificial organs had genetic timers. We suspected that Kato, the surgeon who operated on the patients in question, knew the whole story, but he's in the first section of the Kyuri special nursing sector under regulations. So they're looking for people in the special sector.
Yeah. I mean, they were looking for them before, but now they've ran all their other dead ends to the wall, and so
this is where they are now.
Yeah, that's where they are now.
So the murder of Shiki inside the special sector led to a sudden change of circumstance. Shiki had taken unregistered children from the abolition blocks into his care through his son, and he became aware of the cursed organs. So it was only part of the tail end of the number that differed from the original brand, but they signified a difference that caused an extreme allergic reaction to hyper oats. The artificial organs are the legacy of a top-secret government-led experimentation done on humans in the past.
On the next page, we have a flowchart. And if your story is so complicated that you need that flowchart, you perhaps could simplify your story.
No.
I mean, just from those 3 pages.
No, it's a lot. It really is a lot.
There were so many in and outs. And I feel like you could have taken... Let's say there were 8 different red herons. You could have taken out 5 of those red herons and still had a perfectly respectable detective story.
But if it's not needlessly complicated...
You would have only sold 3 volumes instead of 6.
I would have liked more volumes with Kogami's butt. I mean,
here's the thing. You could have had a whole volume of him just running around in the hot sauna if you had taken out a lot of this side story stuff. You could have had volume sexy. That's what it could have been called. It could have just been Kogami running around doing things in a weirdly small amount of clothes.
They have women do it all the time.
You could have had a swimsuit issue. Like, that's, yeah.
Ooh.
But instead, you had, like, these volumes of just, well, we thought it was this, but it was this, but some of this was this, but if they had a serial number like this, then it was this other thing. Also, pasta for some reason.
Wait until you get to the last 2 volumes.
My brain's just gonna melt.
It really
I'm
is.
gonna have to draw a flow chart by then.
So,
Yes.
That these cursed organs could be specialized for a rice diet, it's plausible. Difficult as it is to avoid hyperoats, an allergic reaction would be almost inevitable. So, Kogami's talking about how they, from what I saw, and Gyno saying that what he saw in the written report, custody of the children with cursed organs was with the aim of saving them.
Yeah.
So Shiki was trying to help these kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like most of the motivation was not evil here.
But from the perspective of those in the abolition blocks, it was the same as abducting them. And Kogami points out that they got information from an organ broker in the abolition block, and Gyno's like, you had contact with someone in an abolition block?
Gross. Did you shower after? He's like, no, not me. Waku. And Waku's out taking care of business with that right now.
It is, like, Gino is such a tsundere. Like, he's such a grumpy little ass.
He is so, yeah.
But he really cares about Kogami.
He does in his own weird little way.
So the children who had transplants were innocent of any crime, and if they're not latent criminals, then they should have applied to the government for protection. So why keep it an underground secret? Kaido had strong distrust of the government, and he was afraid that if the case got hushed up, then the children would be too.
How embarrassing for him once you realize what egg on his face once you realize how trustworthy the government actually is. Now don't you feel silly?
The irony of the last part of this, that line will come back to be a problem.
Yeah.
So Kogami still has the key hidden, and he hasn't told anybody about it.
No. He just keeps going over that dude's the words that the Kato, the hospital owner, said over and over again. I want you to bring him down. I want you to bring him down. He's just thinking about that key. Mm-hmm. It's really going to give him a headache.
So Gyno's like, well, then the case is over, right? You've arrested everyone you need to arrest.
We're done now, right? Yeah.
And Kogami's like, no, because now we got to deal with the clear pasta.
Yeah, he shakes him. He's like, what about the pasta? This fettuccine Alfredo is driving people crazy.
So this emergency meeting is dealing with the clear pasta.
Yeah.
And Gyno's like, well, about the red flower case, I did more digging into it. Generally, if a person is obsessed with a thing and then has an urge to wipe it out, that's going to affect their crime coefficient. It could be dangerous, so just let it be. Like, yeah. Gyno's trying to get him to just let it go.
Yeah.
But...
And this flowers thing is from Volume 2.
Mm-hmm.
There seem to be a lot of connections between these red flowers in cases. Mm-hmm. Much like the rice and the pasta and the organs with the coat. Yet, here's another variable that seems to possibly be connected to this case.
And Gyno proves his detectiveness by pointing out he went through 50 years worth of cases related to the color red. There were a lot of matches, but that's before hue checks were introduced. The crime figures...
You know how much red pisses people off? We're all just bulls walking around, just waiting until we see the color red so we start charging. And yes, I know it's not actually the color, it's the flip of the cape, but you get what I'm saying. The hue, the colors causing people discomfort it's surprising to me.
It is.
Yeah.
So among them was an obsession with the color red as a motive in 196 cases. Of those 196, 16 had the same person show up.
Karika
Newsen. She hasn't been questioned for any crimes. Maybe she's the instigator, maybe not, but it's the only lead that Gyno could get. So...
And you get a picture of her, and she's, like, being photographed. Like she's a supermodel, yeah.
She's pretty.
Yeah.
So she may have incited people, but there's no substantiation. A woman fanning the curiosity of many and acting them as she pleases. The principal offenders in the cases were always people around Newsen. So around the time the psychopath's hues were being introduced, she showed a hostility towards reds. So, a strange obsession to make everything white, even changing the colors of flowers that are naturally red.
Yes.
So, yeah. Nuzin is in the special sector, and Kogami puts together her hatred of the color red.
Yeah. With how white everything is in that neck of the world.
Mm-hmm. And Gino tells him to watch himself.
Yeah.
He's such a tsundere.
The good advice, although hard to obey. It's like, be careful. Like, yeah, okay.
Well, I was just going to go all haphazardly.
Be careless.
Yeah, I was just going to go all haphazardly jumping into things. But I guess since she asked nicely.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're on file 19.
19?
So, the monocrop of hybrid... So, they're going over the clear pasta. And they're talking about rice. And the production of rice could destroy the food systems and all this stuff. So, he has permission. What is this? The higher-ups have given permission for compulsory investigation of the special sector. They say that the rice will be completely destroyed and all connected persons will be apprehended. And depending on the circumstances, the elders will have to be eliminated.
Ba-boom.
Which is a really fucked up way to handle growing rice.
Yeah, well, I think disposing of large amounts of food is almost always a bad move. Mm. And there's someone who can eat that.
So, the immediate secondhand embarrassment I got from Kogami slamming his hand on the table and standing up to give a speech is just... It's
another manga mainstay. Someone's got to take a stand by giving an impassioned speech.
Well, it's a mainstay in a lot of things because any coming of age movie almost seems to have like a weird, unnecessary. I stand up in front of the crowd to give an impassioned whatever.
Well, it's a fantasy. Like, it's the whole... And then everyone in the classroom applauded because I had really let the teacher have it. Like, it's a very common fantasy of someone
so
like...
It's so cringe, though.
It's so cringe.
It makes me hurt.
It's cringe in the same way it's cringe in those stories. And you hear the stories and you're like, no, everyone in the grocery store did not applaud your line. And it's really awkward that you're lying because all of us either have to call you out on it, which is awkward, or pretend this dumb thing you just told us actually happened, which is awkward.
Yeah, it is so...
Yeah. And in manga, especially
I hate it.
so.
I always hate it. It is so awful.
But he gives a speech.
But he does, and Kogami is smart, and he points out that all of with the amount of clear pasta that there has been, and with the demand for it, there is no way that the pasta is only being grown in the special sectors.
Yes.
The pasta is being grown in the city.
Yeah. In
Kogami's opinion. And, he's like, well, and someone asked, like, where would it have been grown at? Like, how would you grow it in the city?
And he was like, well, have you ever seen the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon? I'm thinking sewers.
Yeah. Hydroponic farming with artificial light. That is
which we found in the missile silos. So we already know they have the capability of doing this. Mm-hmm. We just have to find another place where power is being diverted where you could hide that exact thing.
Mm-hmm. And so that's what they do. They do a little bit of... Sleuthing.
Yeah.
They basically kind of track where the pasta flows through and all that stuff.
Yeah, they like do boat shipping charts and etc. etc. It's a whole big thing.
Based on the scale
a lot of computer typing.
Based on the scale of the case, it's reasonable to suspect this involves all cities with special nursing sectors, not just Tokyo. If we expand our scope to central and western Japan, they'll never be able to cover all of it. Mr. Masayuka points out.
Yeah, he's speaking the true truth.
It is. I mean,
you got to narrow your search.
So yeah, they're doing a lot of actual detective work right here.
Yes,
and trying to figure out how they can track down where the rice is coming from. And Masayuka points out that they could be using letters to communicate.
And this is very much one of those, what is a letter? It's like, well, in the old days, people used to put stamps on papers and send them to people.
I actually really love it when criminals do shit like this, though. Like, all of this big tech, everyone's being monitored 24/7.
And somebody's using carrier pigeons to deliver messages, kind of thing.
Someone's getting around it.
Well, low tech is how criminals operate. criminals operate from two directions. They're either using tech that's way ahead of the curve, so it's outsmarting, bot picker-uppers and things like that, or they go old school and use tech that's so old that the computers can't pick up on it or recognize it. Like, those are the two easiest ways to commit crime. Either go really, really high tech or really, really low tech.
Yeah, and one of the dudes points out that paper's just garbage wrappings.
Yeah.
No one would look at it twice.
Yeah.
So Shiki was sending out vegetables that he grew on regular basis. You could put a letter in there easily. The staff probably wouldn't notice any of it or recognize it. They'd probably only be aware that they passed a slip of paper. They wouldn't even think of it having a message.
Sneaky, sneaky, sneakies.
Criminals. I like it when the criminals are smart.
Yeah? Oh, yeah, you need smart criminals. Or dumb cops. That
either way.
Both of those work, yeah.
So, Haina asks Tori if she'd write her some love letters. Which I think is adorable.
It's just like you'd eat it. You would just eat the paper. You wouldn't even read it.
And Haina swears she'd read it. I believe it.
I believe she believes it.
So now the two different divisions are teaming up.
Team up!
Division 1 and 2, or 1 and 2 and 3? 1 and 3.
1 and 3.
Are teaming up
1
to
and 2 would
complete
have
the
been too weird.
investigation. Yeah, right? So, they...
Now, have we changed files?
Yes, we have.
I always need to know when we go to a new file. 20. Yeah. It was on that
20?
page. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, we are on 20 now.
Excellent. I've tried a new note-taking session where I just have like a couple of words hidden that lead to more things. And we'll see how it works.
So they're sending drones into...
Space!
Well, they're sending it into, like, the sewers,
Yeah.
basically. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Looking into the operation logs, it seems that there have been frequent comings and goings out of this area around 3 o'clock. So
this is the part where they kind of check the shipping directions and where the boats are moving, and they figure out, they narrow it down to this section of sewer tunnels. Which is why they have to take an army.
Well, they have to take the drones.
Yeah.
They send in these little robots, these cute little... They remind me a lot of the Chinese bots in Fallout 76, the little... That's what they make me think of.
Like the
I see
octopus ones with the 3 arms, or
the little ones that, like, when you step right out of Vault 76.
Oh yeah, they're like little spider walkers. Yeah.
That's what, every time I see one of these, I'm like, so it's a little commie bot.
Little commie bot. It's from when China invaded Alaska. You remember?
Oh God. So they follow a tunnel because it's got a scrape, which I feel like is probably a weird way to do things in
the
sewer.
future. The sewers are very clean. No scrapes.
Apparently, I don't quite believe it, but that's what they're telling me here.
Yep.
So
I mean, they end up being right. So I can't argue with them.
Mr. Waku tells them in the middle of this investigation, which is bad form, Mr. Waku, that he has other things that he's got to go take care of.
Yeah.
Professor Togain, the one responsible for all the organs, and in Tokigain in the special sector are the same person. So he's finally telling them what he knows.
He's following up on a lead. That's not that's allowed.
Yeah. Well, but he's doing it in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
So he told them that he's going to go visit Professor Togain.
Yeah. And then he lets it drop
that he's related to them.
Yeah. So
Tori tries to talk him
with
out
a
of
flourish.
leaving.
Yeah.
Well, Tori tries to talk him out of leaving, and he says that he's going to meet the professor not as an inspector, but as an individual.
Yeah.
This is the way that he's getting around the limitations placed on him by the system.
Yeah.
But Kogami basically says he's kind of worried. The case is never just the parts you can see at present.
Marcus, like, don't worry, I got my butter knives with me.
And Kogami says that he still wants to learn from him.
So don't get killed out there.
Yeah.
Basically.
You've read your Nietzsche. When you gaze into the abyss also gazes into you. The line before that is, those who battle monsters must be aware that they themselves do not become monsters. And Kogami's like, well, that's all the more reason why you shouldn't go by yourself.
He's like, you worry too much, dude. I got this. Yeah, Waku, I do not see him lose his cool ever.
He doesn't.
It's just not his thing.
It is not.
He keeps his cool, and I like him. That's the thing I like about him.
So he's got Mr. Waku tells Masaoka to pull his gun out and, see what his crime coefficient is. And his is a 24.
He's golden.
His hue is pigeon blood, like strawberry candy. A clear red.
Great.
And they're talking about how mentally sound he is, and I wrote down a record probably beaten by Akane. Because she is also someone whose hue does not cloud. So he takes his knives and goes off
on his adventure.
On his little side quest.
Then we cut to the sewer boat ride. Woo woo.
So many fishies.
Yeah.
Are there fish in the sewer?
In the future?
Apparently.
I do not know if there are normally, but in the future? Alright, and that takes us into file 21. Woot woot.
And we are in the sewers.
And we found
in a boat.
A very curious series of tubes.
That lead...
The internet, I believe, is what we found.
Oh, that's a web, not tubes.
A web of tubes. It's a series of tubes, the internet.
But interestingly, in this sewer, there are a whole bunch of lights on.
That should not be.
It should not be.
Yeah.
So they're in this old underground electric water thingy, and the people the people in the abolition blocks must be connected to the rice. Is what they decide. Is this a mall?
It's an abandoned mall.
Yeah.
They mentioned that in a few pages. That's been repurposed as a packaging plant. Mm-hmm. For, you guessed it, rice and pasta.
Rice. What's the difference between rice and hyper oats?
It's like, we covered this. It's like every volume.
Well, that's actually this him asking this question is why I looked it up, because at this point I was also like, why is it a big deal?
Yeah.
Like I was, because it's also in the first season of the anime they also touch on the isolationist part of Japan in this future. So I was like, why? I didn't remember why it was a big deal. So that question is actually why I looked it up.
Yeah. Because they don't give you a satisfactory answer here.
Masaoka just says it would be nice if we could find a connection between the people transporting the rice and the special sector.
Yeah.
That's they don't answer the question. They don't say what the importance of the rice is.
Look, I want to shoot people in the special sector, and we need a reason, okay?
Our only option is to keep moving forward to look for the source of the rice.
Keep on keeping on.
So from there, we cut to Mr. Waku...
getting ready for his meeting with his relative?
Yep. Getting ready to talk to Mr. Togain.
He's looking through his book collection, which, if you leave someone alone in your library...
It's your own fault.
They are going to look through your books. And if they don't, well, don't sleep with them. But also, don't even, I don't know. Maybe kick them out. They might be a robot.
Well, don't sleep with them.
It's that old joke, if you go home with someone, they don't have bookshelves, don't sleep with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that. But if you leave someone alone in your library and they don't peruse the books, you can't trust that motherfucker.
No.
You cannot trust that motherfucker.
It is true. This is a fair
They don't
point.
care about you. You're not even trying to learn about me by looking at the smut I read. You're not even trying.
This is fair.
Yes.
So,
you would be a selfish lover. Waku would not, though, because he is looking through these
yes,
books.
Waku is interested.
He would be an attentive lover.
And thankfully he's interested because he notices that all of the books with red involved in the title has been scratched out.
That's some Batman villain level of obsession right there.
It really is.
Yeah.
So he basically tells the guys to be careful of the color red. It's uncleared. So...
And he's like, red's popped up again, so, make of that what you will.
Kogami is saying there's a woman in the special sector named... Actually, I think this is Kogami. My bad.
Yeah, Kogami calls him up to give him...
Mr. Waku, please watch out for the color red. There's a woman named Karika Nuzin who has an irrational hatred of the color.
Yeah,
so
this is the information we got earlier, but because Waku did not have it yet... And I guess Kogami just now thought to tell him.
Well, I think he actually told him before he left, because this is...
Oh, a flashback.
A flashback.
Okay,
So,
gotcha.
Kogami points out that it's unclear if she's connected, but there's a thing
Just
with the
something to
color
keep an eye out.
red.
Yeah.
Look out for it. Keep your eye out. And Waku says to himself, Kogami's hunch was right.
Yeah. And I think, and this I could be totally wrong on, and if so, I'll just take it out of the episode. You'll never know I said it. But isn't the famous Sherlock Holmes detective story A Study in Red the one
Study
where
in Scarlet.
Scarlet, where he first meets what's her name?
Irene Adler.
Yeah, Irene Adler. Possibly a connection. I don't know. Red and detective stories go way back. That's all I'm saying.
It's not a bad.
Not the worst pull I've had.
No. And A Study in Scarlet, the red, like...
Oh, well, I didn't even have it. It's a fucking late memory from when I read this. Can't even take credit for that one.
All of those colors, anything related to red has been marked
scratched out. Yeah.
Her springtime is over. From the fresh plant's worries, the flower grows. And then he gets interrupted by Mr. Togane.
Who tells him, don't say anymore. I don't want to hear the rest of that poem you're reciting.
I think it's because the color red comes up.
Yeah.
But and that's where this section ends.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's great you came. And now we're in file 22. Of which there are 24. Okay.
I love Tori's face here. So we cut back and they're walking through the sewers.
Yeah.
And Tori turns on the flashlight and does the thing everyone does.
When you're telling a scary story,
you
put the light under your chin.
It's so funny. I love her little face there.
Yeah. But why is she doing it? What is she actually saying? Oh, let there be light.
Yeah. She basically just turns on the flashlight.
She just does it to scare Kurata.
Yeah.
She's walking with her.
They're under the... They're in the underground mall.
Yeah.
And the lights have gone out. Or there's no electricity in this part. They're at the end of the waterway that Mr. Kogami was worried about, and they're talking about the different channels that the tunnel and the utility tunnel, and the different connections between all the pipelines and stuff.
Yeah.
And they find a rice milling unit, which is something that you need when you're doing rice, I suppose. I don't really actually know how rice grows or works.
Yes. You
do need it.
You have to mill. Got to mill your rice.
I don't know anything about how... I know how supermarkets work.
You got to...
And I know how vegetables grow.
Shell it and take the seeds out, and you have to skin it.
If it takes more...
debone it. All of this has to be done to rice.
If it takes more than me picking it out of the garden and throwing it into a frying pan, I don't know anything about how it works.
Rice takes a little more.
I grow tomatoes and spinach and lettuce and cucumbers.
All very
They do not require a mill.
They don't. I don't even go that far because I'm like, well, you gotta wash them. That's too much work.
See, I don't mind washing it. I just... I buy rice from the store. That's all I know about.
They did the work for you.
Yep. So, yeah, this is basically part of the rice processing plant. You've got hidden in a mall.
Yep.
Which is a neat way to repurpose malls.
Sure, you got an abandoned mall. That. Yeah. Turn malls into farms. Sustainable farming.
And there's a conveyor belt that has... that leads us back to what looks like another missile silo.
Man, you gotta go deep. And in Japan, you can't build horizontally. You have to build vertically, either up or down. Your skyscrapers have to be tall, and your holes have to be deep because there's just not a lot of room there.
That's what she said.
Boom.
So they're down in this missile silo, and they decide to put their drone Masaoka.
Send their drones deep.
Masaoka tells him to keep a hold of his Dominator, and they decide to send their drones deep.
They think there's people, or they know there's people down there.
I think they just imagine. I don't think that they know that there's anyone down here
yet.
They
think it's a good spot for an ambush, though.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, so they send a drone in like you would.
Mm-hmm. Poor Kurata's over here having a panic attack in the corner, and Kogami's looking down.
Yeah, not even worried about it.
Yeah, Kurata does not like heights. So, they send the little drones down, and... there is an ambush.
And the drone lets out a huge flash of light. And if you're wearing night vision goggles, when a huge flash of light goes on, you are blinded.
I also think they electrocute, don't they?
I don't know if it electrocuted. I know it flashed bright and blinded them.
You're right. The lights are set to maximum voltage.
Yeah. Oh, well, voltage means you might also be right. Anyway, between the bright light and the possible electric shock, the cops make short work of them.
Yep.
You get some real cool fight scenes. I especially like watching Karada service this dude, like, boom! Not service, but beat him up. Yeah, a lot of good beat ups here.
It's a very action packed manga. There's a lot.
Really, I'm gonna push back. It's really not.
You don't think so?
Well, when the action happens, it's very action packed. But for every, let's say, 4 pages like this, you've got. We had 2 issues with none of this. Like, the last 2 issues was just detective work. And I'm not saying that as a negative. I'm just saying, like, as a manga, I guess it's just the more balance action. Between action and talking are very in talking's favor as opposed to action.
I guess maybe it's just for me, this is pretty action-packed, because I don't read a lot of stuff that has fight scenes in it.
That's fair.
Typically.
Yeah.
But yes, there are karate fights, Kogami fights. I love it when Kogami
There's
fights.
some whoop ass.
He's so pretty. And then they blow some shit up.
Yeah, well, you got to, really.
Happy to do that.
Happy to make some booms. Yeah.
Boom booms. I typically, like I did with when we read Transformers, and there was a lot of boom punches. I typically just flip through that.
They leave one guy conscious so he can answer questions.
No, he doesn't really get around to it.
He doesn't actually answer the questions, though. He pulls out a gun instead.
Yep, he is ready.
Rather die than answer them questions.
Yep. And he shoots himself in the head.
Yeah, that's how you don't answer questions.
Yeah.
I mean, he very wisely knows that they have ways of making you talk. So if you have secrets to keep, there's only one way to keep them in this world. And then they basically say that exact thing. They're like, well, if he didn't want you to question him, that was his only option, really.
And they're talking about, why didn't he just blow everything up? Well, there's no way to make sure that he doesn't harm the rice production or
the people above.
Yeah. And then the point of this was not to harm people.
Yeah.
It was to
they're not trying to harm. So blowing up the entire district to hide your crime, especially if you're shooting yourself in the head, you're not going to jail for that crime.
No, yeah. So he couldn't risk being arrested either. If you pointed the Dominator at him, it would have been over for him before he had to worry about spilling his secrets. Masaoka says, but with the danger of using them down here, we put them away. He must have thought that we would have taken him to the Public Safety Bureau. It would have been a living hell for him. And Kogami's like, what do you mean? And Tori points out that there are rumors, sort of urban legends, that we extract your memories and turn you into an invalid.
Yeah. Just rumors, though. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Kogami says, well, we'd never do anything so inhumane. Kurana's like, you wouldn't, Mr. Kogami. But there are other people who work here.
Yeah.
So, yeah. He killed himself to keep the secret safe and to not have anything bad happen to him.
Yeah, didn't want to get tortured and become an invalid. I can understand all that.
Kurana tells him that he should have been more careful. He doesn't have a vest. He had a gun. He could have been shot.
All true.
Kogami's like, well, I had you guys. I didn't think I'd get fatally wounded. And
Kurata's expression when he says that is like, you fucking idiot. Like, his eyes are wide. He's like, you were relying on us? Are you out of your mind?
Because I just think, like, Kogami is very good.
Very, very trusting.
I have read that people have kind of panned this because Kogami's really naive and stuff in this, which is a very, like, just from the few episodes you've watched of the anime, this is a very different Kogami than what you get in the anime. But I actually think it shows how much the situations from the show have impacted him.
Well, I think it's kind of the same thing you said about when we were reading Masters of the Universe. Like, it's not a flaw if you're setting it up to show it change. Like, it's not a character flaw if we're purposely making him especially naive so that later we can modify that in some way for the sake of the story. Mm-hmm. The naivety is not a problem. He-Man's hopeless optimism isn't a problem if that gets tempered by real-life events at some juncture.
Or even if it becomes like his hopeless optimism is the thing that saves the day.
Yeah,
because Usagi's got that same...
It helps the story.
Yeah.
If it's used to promote the story. And this, Kogami is obviously... This version of him is a sharp contrast to who he becomes in the anime. Mm-hmm. So it's intentional and it has purpose. And I don't think the manga should be flagged for that or judged for that.
Well, I think people, because, like, personally, I really like the hardened and jaded Kogami myself. Like, that is, if you start Psycho-Pass, typically you started with the first season of the anime. Because this came after.
Yeah.
So I understand some people being particularly attached to the version that they started with.
Yeah.
But... I like both versions. I like Kogami being sweet and trusting of the people who works with him.
You also don't... Well, I shouldn't say you, because some people do, but I don't want a protagonist that in no way ever changes or evolves. If I'd read a prequel and the character that was the exact same, then why... I don't really need the prequel.
This was a waste.
Yeah, this was kind of a waste of my time.
So, Hyena tells them that the destination's nearby, and they get moving. And we get this, we're on file number 23, and we get a collection of little panels that have Mr. Masaoka cleaning some stuff, patting a kid's head, looking at Gyno.
Oh man, Pops. That's it. That's a great picture of Pops. He just looks like the guy, it's like, oh, I wish he was my dad. Look at that guy. He looks like such a nice guy.
And then they get to the underground rice field.
Yep.
And they meet Professor Toshi.
Yes. And we're gonna do this thing again where an old man tries to instruct Kogami on life philosophies and how you should view the world. And they offer him some chocolate, which you can actually get in Japan today if you wanted to. But in the future, it is not as common. Because you can't make it with oats, I guess.
So Kogami asks why they're trying to make rice after the food crisis has been settled. And the old man asks what he thinks of hyper oats, and Kogami says that they're a miracle food that can be processed into any texture or flavor, and that they saved humanity.
Yeah.
And he asks what the rice is and what the chocolate is. And Kogami thinks that the chocolate bar is made out of hyper oats.
Yeah.
And the old man tells him it's made out of cocoa. So it's real chocolate as opposed to all the fake shit.
This is the shit. If you haven't had cocoa before, get you some of this.
Honestly, I would be very sad in a future without chocolate. Which may be a thing we have to do.
Yeah, only if you knew.
This is also true. Yeah. You've never had chocolate.
Like, he's never had it. So, like, this guy's holding up a weird bar and, like, oh, you're gonna like this. And just like, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah. So, the old man is not very fond of the fact that Kogami doesn't have any knowledge beyond what he's been told.
Yeah.
Which seems unfair.
He's very judgmental of Kogami's worldview, which, again, is completely unfair. Like, oh, he's that really annoying guy who's just like, oh, it looks like you just believe whatever they tell you, sheeple. He's really giving off that kind of vibe.
In my understanding, the research was done to save humanity from starvation. One more way to increase the possibility of our survival. Kudama did well. I'm a student I am proud of, but for one's hue to worsen if you don't consume hyper oats, it's hard for me to accept good or evil being decided by what you eat.
Yeah.
So part of what happened here is that we seem to have different people who have different reasons for growing the rice.
Yeah.
Mr. Eni wanted people to have a choice, and then this dude thinks that the system's all messed up for having your food affect you like that anyways.
Yes, I love this scene when Hina comes up and thanks him for making pasta. And he's like, "Aw, thanks, young lady." Gives her a little pat on the head.
Yeah. I love her.
Yeah, he's way nicer to her. Like, he respects her way more than he respects Kogami. But I guess it is someone coming up and just saying, like, oh, the work you did is amazing. Like, yeah, you're going to like that person, most likely. Whereas
So-
Kogami is judging him for the stuff he's done.
Yeah, so the old man asks if people who have eaten pasta become cloudy, and Kogami's like, no, because we've kept it a secret.
Yeah.
And the old man's like, so in other words, no matter what you eat or how you live, it won't cloud your hue. It's this food system that clouds them. It's an individual's preconceptions.
Yeah.
So basically,
It's once again, the government has created this problem.
Yeah.
Through deceit and lies, and now they can't confess because that would cloud the hues. It's like, but if you'd confessed right at the beginning, we might have not had this problem. But you didn't trust people enough to hand them the truth.
Well,
and
you
let
have
them do
to
it.
if you're gonna set up a system, you have to have the parameters for that system set up too. Which is part of the problem with systems.
Yeah.
You have to
Accurate.
punish people who are outside of those systems, or that system will not be able to propagate and
Right.
reproduce
Unless,
itself.
and this is getting well into utopias here, but you can create a system that can support other systems safely within it.
This is true. But those kind of things don't lend themselves well to a law and order. Like, it isn't...
Well, an authoritative system is the antithesis of that system.
Yes.
Whatever that
That's-
system
yes.
would be.
Yes.
And that is the system that psychopaths that's the world that psychopaths exist within.
So the old man's saying, for an unregistered child, clarity of hue is the only thing that protects them, especially those children handicapped with an allergy to hyper oats. In a society which treats their simple inability to eat it as a path to evil, how can they hope to stay clear?
Yeah. And you can't argue with him. It's just like, it'd be like if everyone in America who had an allergy to peanuts, we just put them in prison because we were like,
We're not going to
if
go without the peanut butter.
If you can't have peanut butter, you're gonna become a criminal. It's almost guaranteed. PB and J's are what keep America great. And if you can't enjoy PB and J, I don't want you in my country. Like, this is basically what's happening in this book.
If Sybil is really fragile, if rice can kill her. If rice can kill the Sybil system,
The system, yes,
very
brought down by a buffet. The option to eat another thing. A golden corral could destroy this system.
God.
The chocolate fountain at Golden Corral would bring it to its knees.
So the old man is like, all we wanted was for those children not to suffer. We wanted people to know that there was an option besides the one that Sybil had put forth, that there is such a thing as a choice. So now we're on file number 24.
This is our final file. Sad to see it go. And who are we looking at?
Karada, your favorite boy.
Whose pockets are filled with devil cake suckers. Which I love.
It's adorable.
Yeah. Man loves a good sucker.
Well, you know, there's a lot happening with the consumption of sugar and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. It comes up repeatedly in here. Grandpa. So yeah, 24 opens. They're still talking to this old man.
Yeah, they're talking about the rice and whether or not these people, whether or not like Karai and Awari, whether or not all the people that we've met so far knew where the rice was growing, because they never let it slip. Like,
yeah, this is kind of the who knew what when section of the story.
And Eni, like, yeah, where did the rice come from? Nobody was giving up the secrets.
Because for 3 volumes now, you have continuously thought you've met the mastermind and continually been blown that person up and been like, oh, it turned out they weren't actually. There's someone behind that person. Again, maybe one less twister turn would not have hurt. One less old man to tell Kogami he's wrong. Poor Kogami.
So the old man talks about how they got greedy. Looking at all the happy faces of those children, he kind of wanted to be like Kamada, who had invented hyper oats.
Yeah.
And also make people happy and healthy.
Yeah.
But he
Which
wanted
I'm
to
not
do it
sure.
with rice.
I wouldn't call that greedy, unless you're only doing it for the
fame of it?
accolades. Yeah, which maybe is what he's saying. He's not really clear on it.
He's
but
not. Masaoka says, it sounds like you were merely sharing this rice with the abolition blocks Eni and the others originally came from. But one day, a problem arose with the health of the rice, and he suspected that the water had messed up, and that's when he realized the rice was being grown elsewhere.
Yeah.
So he wasn't the only one growing the rice now.
Yeah.
And Eni...
Now, question. Did these all pop up independently? Did everyone just end up solving the problem the same way, unbeknownst to each other? Or is there a connection between the different rice... Like the one in Tokyo and the one in Osaka, are they in contact with each other? Because it sounds like the one in Tokyo broke down because the water system failed. But the rice flowing continued, which I have to assume means that they were getting it from other stations in other locations. But the old man seems like that's the first he heard that he wasn't alone in doing this.
I do think that that's probably what happened. Because
Okay.
he tried to ask Eni about it, and then he saw Eni gorging himself on pills, and he realized that Eni had gone past the point of no return.
Yeah.
And I guess
This is no longer a person I want to do business with. He's just popping pills every second of the day. I'm not sure I could trust him to be a business partner at this juncture.
The old man has already turned off the water, and the rice is going to wither and die, which seems like a waste.
But I mean, if the water's poisonous, you can't eat
This
the
is
rice.
also true.
Yeah.
So, the man mentions Karika Nuzin and asks why they would give such a dangerous person free reign, which is a question you will be asking through the last 2 volumes of this, Reno.
Fair enough.
But the old man's like, well, we were already in isolation. She's in isolation. Like, you can't do more with that.
Yeah.
So, the old man asks Kogami what evil is to him. And I actually really like this question because it's something that shows up in the anime too. He asks Kogami what justice is and like how Kogami understands those concepts. And I feel like Akane's answer in the anime is the best answer to that, which you haven't got to yet, so I'm not going to ruin it for you.
Fair enough.
But Kogami is asked what justice feels like to him. And then the old man's like, when you're able to deduce that answer, then maybe... Because Kogami was just talking about how he's a new detective. And he's green behind the ears. He's still learning.
Yeah.
So he eats a piece of chocolate, or he's going to eat a piece of chocolate, and then he gets shot.
Yeah.
And...
They do not know who shot him.
They do not know where the shot came from.
Yeah.
But this is about where the team... Yeah, the team decides from here that they have to go in 2 different directions. Tori and Kurata go in one direction, and Kogami, Hina, and Masaoka go in the other one. So Kogami is taking the old man, and Masaoka and Hina are going to find the
killer?
Sniper? Like a hospital.
Oh.
They're going to,
But not for the old man.
Well, yeah, they're taking the old man to the hospital.
Okay, so they're taking the old man to the hospital. So what are the other 2 doing?
Tori and Kurata are trying to extract the rest of the data from this location.
Out of the computers here. Okay,
yes,
got it.
and then they're going to follow us. And the thing is, Kogami is not supposed to leave his enforcers by themselves.
Yeah.
He's supposed to always be watching them.
But he is. And he's like, I'll take the heat for it if someone yells at you about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kurata's like, you trust us, don't you?
Yeah.
We'll stick to our word, so go. You've probably made up your mind, Ko, but you could end up getting raked over the coals for breaching discipline. And Kogami says, I'll take responsibility.
I'm on it.
You guys, a case cannot be solved unless we all do our very best. Kurata, Tori, I'm counting on you.
Yes.
And that's the end of Volume 4.
At the opening of Volume 5. Those 2 have eloped. They are happily married and living on an island.
Isn't Tori dating Hina?
Yeah. It broke her heart when they just left like that. But the trust was a mistake. That's what I'm saying.
They ran away from home.
They're just like, oh yeah, you can trust us. And as soon as she's out of your shot, they're like, grab all the pasta you can. We're out of here.
Run for your lives.
Run for your life.
So, yeah.
So that has taken us through Volume 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
Volume 5 and 6, is that the last ones that have been released so far?
That's the end of it.
Okay, so that's the completed of the story.
Yep.
Oh, that's exciting. Resolution. It's so rare we get resolution in this. Although, in 2 weeks' time, we'll be reading the last of the 12, part 7 through 12 of the 12. So we will get we're going to get double resolution, because 2 weeks after that we'll finish Psychopaths.
Yep.
Don't say we never finished anything for you.
I mean, I finished for me, but you know.
Well, I haven't finished for me yet. Again, not enough women shots in these books.
They didn't even show me all of Kogami's butt.
And you still finished? Easy. All right. So you got a question for me for this?
All right.
Parts
So,
3
big
and 4.
question.
Quick question. Quick question.
Big question.
You said quick question. Like rapid fire. All right, big question. I'm ready.
With the use of holographic images to cover things as a common thing in this manga, what would you use a holo of to cover what crime?
What crime?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. I would like to have a portable one that basically allows me to be invisible. And I think it would mostly be trespassing. I would do a lot of trespassing. Like I would swim in the pools of rich people. I would just go places. I would go to abandoned like theme parks and stuff, and like take pictures and have to worry about security. Like I would do a lot of trespassing. If that would be a crime, I would cover. Because number one, it has to be a crime that a hologram can cover up. So for
They've
instance,
been using hollows to cover missile silos. I feel like you're not being creative
Well,
enough.
what I'm saying is, like, if I went and murdered someone, you can't really... Like, I guess I could put a koi pond over where I buried the body, but you can't cover up... You know, like, if I murder him over here, and then I bury him over here, and I only have one hologram to use, I've already gotten caught. But if I have one with me, if I have one on my person... Well, then, fuck, the sky's the limit. Like, I can go into steak restaurants and steal the steak off of rich people's plates. Like, it's really about swimming pools, though. Like, I could just swim anywhere I wanted, anytime I wanted. Yeah. I don't know, let me ask you this. I know it's my big question. I'm supposed to answer it, but what did you think I was going to say?
Well, I don't know. I don't even have an answer for this question.
I am a simple Reno with simple taste.
This is fair. And I mean, you're not hurting anybody.
Well,
that's good.
I didn't want to commit a crime that was like, I don't know, gonna hurt people. Like, I was like, oh, I would just murder everyone, and I would bury them under my holographic koi pond.
I can't say anything else without giving part of the anime away, so I'm not going to say anything else. But there are other very creative ways that holograms can be used.
It's fair. Here's the thing. If the hologram tech just suddenly appeared in my hand, it would be so new that it would be a while before I started thinking of crime stuff. I would honestly do what the girl in the anime did, like make my apartment look like better things.
What would you? What kind of?
I don't know. I think a Sistine Chapel ceiling would be nice.
Because I would personally go steampunk. I would steampunk the ever-loving shit out of it.
Well, I would just...
Especially because, like, the holograms don't actually affect the texture. Yeah. So I could have a chair that looks like it's made out of a bunch of gears, and it would still be cool, like, comfortable as shit to sit on.
In it, yeah.
It would be the opposite of the Game of Thrones knives chair. It could look as, like, punk ass and
whatever as I wanted. Or it would be the Game of
it.
Thrones knives chair, because you'd sit in and it'd just be a normal chair and feel
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would, but I feel like that chair would be fucking uncomfortable. But it could look like it.
Thrones always
still be
You're
very
a
plush.
king. Why are you not sitting in a beanbag chair? Why are you sitting in a chair with a high back that's like hard as a fucking rock?
I do not understand.
Kings, I just don't understand them.
Comfort is important.
That's something they don't understand. Like, but yeah, I would honestly use it to change. Because I'm saying the same thing. I would have it on me all the time, and I would use it to change my immediate surroundings. So it either looked like I wasn't there or my immediate surroundings were nicer than they actually are.
Well, most of what the hollows seem to be used for are affecting surroundings and making things calm and nice looking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, like, all the cherry blossoms, like, that aren't cherry blossoms.
I could have cherry blossoms and, just like...
Ooh,
imagine you have
like a fairy cave.
Well, I was thinking like a fairy bed. Like a bed out in the woods under a weeping willow, like by a pond. Mm-hmm. And you have the sound effects of like the water.
Steampunk fairy fusion. I want a weird...
The water lapping up against the shoreline and, the cherry blossoms floating by as you sleep. Like, man... That'd be awesome.
It would. I think you could do a lot with like a
Especially if you were the only one with the tech. What ruins it in this world is that everyone's got it. If you had it alone, that's when you can get up to trouble. Because as you've seen in this manga, you can't hide shit with holograms because people are fucking always looking for that. Because that's what you would do.
I feel like they're not, though.
These kids are.
Most people
Our stars
aren't.
are. Yeah.
Most people aren't.
Yeah.
Just like Kogami not being aware that the cherry blossoms are all fake.
Yeah.
It takes someone else pointing out that, like, those aren't real for him to be like, oh, they're not real. Like, most people aren't looking for the holograms. And I feel like detectives kind of have to because you're a detective and it's your job to kind of look beyond what you're given.
Yeah, but how creative I have to be would be directly proportional to how widespread this tech was. But that's my long answer. And what about you?
I can't... my answer is jaded by the anime, so I can't give away anything.
Yeah, okay. You'll have to tell me way later.
But I do like the idea of having like a weird steampunk fairy bedroom with...
You know what? I just thought of a better answer that's completely crime-ridden, depending on what state you're in. I would run a bed and breakfast brothel. Like it's a safe place for sex workers, and every room would have themes that you could just change with the push of a button. Tell me I would not make money hand over fist. And I'm protecting sex workers. It's a win-win across the board.
And it would be a win-win across the board. You could make it like a hotel whenever the police come in.
That's why I say it would be a bed. That's why it's a bed and breakfast brothel because it can switch back and forth, and you hit the button, and all of a sudden it just looks like a little. It's just a little Victorian house Airbnb that I'm running here.
This is This is better. I like it. See, this is what I meant by more creative. Yeah. I appreciate it.
I needed a little time. I needed to wrestle with the idea of it. But yeah, I'm going to run a holographic. What was that Dolly Parton movie? Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. Yeah, I'm going to run a holographic Best Little Whorehouse in North Carolina. That's my plan.
I love it. Yes. Very nice.
So that is all for Psychopaths 3 and 4. Mm-hmm, in 2 weeks we will finish the 12.
Yes.
And so you probably don't have any homework because you probably already read the whole thing. But 2 weeks after that, Psychopaths 5 and 6.
Yes.
So get ready
to be very confused because you're not wrong about how many unnecessary
we're not done with those yet.
We added to this.
Yeah.
On the other hand, be your own ally.
Be your own ally and come back in 2 weeks.
And we will finish the 12.
Peace out, kids.